There's an old saying, money, 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 it's all they can think about. Unlikely to be true, of course, given that hardly anybody thinks about money itself, unless they happen to be a coin collector. The reason we all pursue and desire and fiercely protect money is because of what we can do with it. And no, of course, money can't buy you love or happiness, although it can buy a good deal of pleasure and remove a lot of unhappiness. But it can buy you plenty of other things. Over the years, I've identified the 10 things which people most seem to want to spend their money on. 1. Security. A home of your own and enough money in the bank to support you in the way you want, plus a bit in hand for emergencies, and a big enough pension to ensure a comfortable retirement. 2. Comfort. A warm and spacious house, a big car, someone to clean or mow the lawns or do the laundry or mind the kids, and good quality medical care whenever you want it. 3. Luxuries. Exotic vacations, fine wines, meals at top-class restaurants, expensive clothes, the best seats at sports events or opera or whatever you enjoy. 4. Mobility. First-class train seats and plane tickets, trips on cruise ships, chauffeur-driven cars wherever you are in the world. 5. Status. Prestigious invitations, access to important people and exclusive clubs, and perhaps even gratifying deference from others. 6. Influence. As a generous donor of substantial sums, you can make sure that your views and wishes are listened to and taken seriously. 7. Freedom. Not being dependent on employers, bosses, creditors, clients, customers. Not being a slave to the calendar, diary, or clock. Knowing you won't have to be a burden on your children. 8. Leisure. Time to do the things you want, go where you want, meet who you want, when you want. 9. Popularity. Being able to entertain friends, acquaintances, and contacts frequently and generously does wonders for your social life. 10. Philanthropy. Being able to make regular and substantial donations gives you the satisfaction of helping people, supporting organizations, and furthering causes you believe in. Seems a reasonable enough list to me, and whether it's some or all those things that you'd like more of, you need to know how to go about generating greater wealth, which means you need to know what it is that separates the wealthy from the not-so-wealthy. So what you need to know is what principles and what behaviors the rich have that you don't yet. Some of them you will realize that you know but don't do. None of this is actually rocket science. It's about understanding and then doing. I've studied a lot of wealthy people, and it's clear to me that there are some fundamental common principles followed by almost all. The bulk of the rules in this book fall into that category. Then there are also some principles which some rich people swear by, but not all. I've included some of those too for good measure, just in case you too are one of the people they do the trick for. Security, comfort, luxuries, mobility, status, influence, freedom, leisure, popularity, philanthropy. That's all some people think about. They may not be everything, they may not even guarantee a happy life, but they're a pretty good basis to build happiness on. I've tried to set out in this book the most important rules that can help you achieve these 10 things. All of them purport to be about accumulating money, and of course, in a sense, they are, but at heart, they're about money only as a means to an end, a means to achieve those 10 ends. Of course, I don't claim that these 100 or so rules are the only means to these particular ends. You may encounter others along the way that you find helpful. If so, please do feel free to share them in the comments section.
Part 1. Thinking Wealthy. Money is a concept. You can't really see or touch it unless you are holding a gold bar in your hand. You can only do that with some physical symbol of it, like stock certificates or a check. Bits of paper, yes, but bits of paper with enormous power. The concept of money comes with a lot of baggage to most of us. We have an inherent belief that it is good or bad, and that wanting it is good or bad, that loving it is good or bad, that spending it is good or bad. What I'm going to suggest in the first few rules is that maybe, just maybe, how we think about wealth might be holding us back from having wealth. If in our heart we believe, even subconsciously, that money is a bad thing, and having lots and lots of it is a really bad thing, then chances are we might be undermining our own efforts, unwittingly, to get lots of it. I am also going to get you to look at how much effort you are prepared to put into making money. It's a bit like a sport. The more you practice, the better you become. Likewise, you can't make money while being lazy. You've got to put in some work here, you know. You've also got to know pretty intimately what you want, why you want it, how you think you are going to get it, what you are going to do with it after you've got it. Stuff like that. No one said this was going to be easy.
Rule 1. Anybody can be wealthy. You just need to apply yourself. The lovely thing about money is that it really doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care what color or race you are, what class you are, what your parents did, or even who you think you are. Each and every day starts with a clean slate so that no matter what you did yesterday, today begins anew, and you have the same rights and opportunities as everyone else to take as much as you want. The only thing that can hold you back is yourself and your own money myths. Of the wealth of the world, each has as much as they cake. What else could make sense? There is no way money can know who is handling it, what their qualifications are, what ambitions they have, or what class they belong to. Money has no ears or eyes or senses. It is inert, inanimate, impassive. It hasn't a clue. It is there to be used and spent, saved and invested, fought over, seduced with, and worked for. It has no discriminatory apparatus, so it can't judge whether you are worthy. I have watched a lot of extremely wealthy people, and the one thing they all have in common is that they have nothing in common, apart from all being rules players, of course. The wealthy are a diverse band of people. The least likely can be loaded. They vary from the genteel to the uncouth, the savvy to the plain stupid, the deserving to the undeserving. But each and every one of them has stepped up and said, "Yes, please, I want some of that." And the poor are the ones saying, "No, thank you, not for me. I am not worthy. I am not deserving enough. I couldn't. I shouldn't." That's what this book is about, challenging your perceptions of money and the wealthy. We all assume the poor are poor because of circumstances, their background, their upbringing, their nurture. But if you have the means to buy a book such as this and live in comparative security and comfort in the world, then you too have the power to be wealthy. It may be hard, it may be tough, but it is doable. And that is Rule 1. Anyone can be wealthy, you just have to apply yourself. All the other rules are about that application.
Rule 2. Decide on your definition of wealth. So, what to you is wealth? This is one you have to sit down and work out in advance if you are going to get wealthy. My observation is that wealthy people invariably have worked this one out. They know exactly what to them wealth means. I have a wealthy and extremely generous friend who says that he knew long ago when he was starting out in business that he would consider he had made enough when he wasn't living off the money he had amassed, which we will call his capital. Nor would he be living off the interest on his capital. No, he would consider himself wealthy when he was living on the interest on his capital. Sounds good to me. Now this friend knows how much his interest on the interest is making him, pretty much by the hour. Thus, if we all go out for a meal in the evening, he knows A, how much the meal has cost, and B, how much he has made while eating the meal. He says that as long as B is more than A, then he is happy. This is setting the definition of wealth pretty high, you might think. Maybe you wouldn't want to set it this high, and that's fine, of course. Then again, maybe you'd want to put some kind of figure on it. In the old days, everyone wanted to be a millionaire. That was an easy one to judge if you'd got there or not. Today, there are a lot of people who have houses worth more than that, and they wouldn't consider themselves wealthy at all, and yet haven't quite got around to upping the ante to wishing themselves billionaires. Sorry, but to me, a billion is a million, and I won't be persuaded otherwise. My own definition for comparison is having enough so that I don't have to worry about having enough. How much is that? I never know. There always seems to be more to worry about, and less coming in. But seriously, I feel that I have been comfortable since I started counting in thousands rather than in dollars. I know to the nearest thousand how much I've got, how much I need, and how much I can spend. For some people, not worrying might mean having enough to pay for any emergency that might arise in your family or home. So how will you define it? By the number of cars you own, servants, cash in the bank, value of your house, portfolio of investments? There are, of course, no right or wrong answers, but I do feel that until you've worked this one out, you shouldn't read on. If we don't have a target, we can't take aim. If we don't have a destination, we can't leave home or we'll be driving around in circles for hours. If we don't have a definition, how can we monitor or judge success? If we don't do this, how will you know if this book has been helpful to you?
Rule number 3. Set your objectives. By defining what you mean by wealth, you now have a destination. Setting your objectives is establishing a timetable to reach that destination. It's quite simple. If you know you are going to drive to a certain place, it makes sense to know what time you are leaving home, what time you expect to arrive, what route you are going to take, what you will be doing when you get there. Getting rich is exactly the same. You will want to know in advance what rich means to you, how you intend getting there, how long you expect it to take, and what you are going to be able to do or want to do with your money when you get it. So having defined what wealth means to you, can you now see the importance of setting your objective? Think about how you intend getting rich and how long it is going to take you, and then set your objective. It might be simple. I'm going to be a millionaire by my 40th birthday, and I shall make my money by running my own property development company. That was easy. Well, it was for me, because I'm only making up an example for you. For you, I wager it's going to be pretty hard. This is because you won't have thought about this before. Oh, I dare say you might have had a casual dream, I want to be very, very rich and famous and/or successful. But few people, only the rich, famous, and successful ones, in my observation, actually decide what and when and how. You have to if you too want to be wealthy, and I assume you do or you wouldn't be reading this far. Good for you. Now set your objective. I can wait. Back already? How did it go? Your objective has to be realistic, honest, and achievable. By realistic, I mean that setting an objective of being the richest person in the world might happen, but it isn't going to. It isn't realistic. Honest means you have to be true to yourself and set an objective that you can live with and work with. Lying to yourself means it will fail. Lying to others means it will fail. Achievable? Yes, that too. If you know nothing about property and aren't interested in learning, have no capital and can't get a mortgage, then setting an objective to be a property developer isn't realistic, honest, or achievable objective. Happy with what you've got? Good. If not, try again and let's get a move on. We want to get you up and running as soon as possible.
Rule number 4. Keep it under your hat. Now that you have embarked on a new journey, a new direction, it might be worth keeping it under your hat. There may come a time when you will need to discuss what you are doing with money mentors, see Rule 71, but for the moment, don't broadcast what you are doing. There are several reasons for this. Other people's opinions can often be negative, and this can discourage you. If everyone is doing it, there may be less room for you. There's no need to give away all your best ideas. Having other people discussing your business among themselves is never good for you. You don't want to be seen as preaching or trying to convert people to your way of thinking. No one else really wants to know what you're up to. If they ask how you are, reply with a simple "fine" rather than a lengthy explanation of what you are doing. It's nice having a secret, gives you a warm, smug, glowing feeling. If you go round broadcasting what you're doing, there will be people around you who will get jealous and will do pretty well anything to discourage you. After all, you are saying goodbye to them in a way. You are proclaiming that the old you, the old lifestyle, isn't good enough anymore, and you are off to greener pastures. Of course, they are going to be unhappy about that. So keep it under your hat. That doesn't cost anything or require you to do anything. Let this be our little secret. Carry on learning and practicing the rules, but just don't go telling everyone, no matter how much you think they might benefit from reading this book. Leave a copy around, by all means, of course. The interesting bit is that even if you did go telling everyone, they're unlikely to do anything about it. Most people would rather watch television than drag themselves out of their pit of poverty. I am only thinking of you when I say keep it under your hat. Anyone who gets religion of any sort needs to keep a tight lip on it. People really hate being preached at, lectured at, encouraged to think about their lifestyle, or told that what they are doing isn't good enough. Gaining prosperity is one of those things you do privately, clandestinely, surreptitiously. Not that there is anything wrong, just that it's best done alone.
Rule number 5. Most people are too lazy to be wealthy. You have to get up early, work hard all day, and go to bed still working on your objective. Yes, money does sometimes grow on trees, or so it seems. Yes, people do win the lottery, the jackpot, the big prize. People do get sudden inheritances from long-lost relatives. Yes, people do suddenly find fame and fortune where they sought for none. But it isn't going to happen to you. Well, the odds are that it won't. If you set your objective as win the lottery and live in the lap of luxury forever, then read no further. Put this book down and go and buy lottery tickets. If your objective is a little more realistic, then read on. Most people are too lazy to be rich. They may say they want to be, but they don't. They may buy a lottery ticket as a sort of half-hearted gesture of wanting to be rich, but they aren't prepared to put in the work. They aren't prepared to make sacrifices, study, learn, work their socks off, put in the effort, and make it a determined and concentrated focus of their life. And for a lot of them, not you, it is because they believe that if you do so, you are somehow tainted with evil. See Rule 7. But is it okay to work hard to make money? Is it a worthwhile thing to want? It depends on why and what you are going to do with it, I guess. Most people don't want to do the work. Yes, they want the money, but only if it comes to them by accident, by luck, by chance. Then it's okay. Then it's not tainted with sweat and work and passion and focus. I think if you look at anyone rich enough to be a role model, Bill Gates, Richard Branson, Warren Buffett, Simon Cowell, James Dyson, Peter Kellner, you'll notice only one thing in common. They work their socks off. They might make their money from computers, sales, business, the film industry, vacuum cleaners, pop music, radio stations, whatever. But the one thing they all share is the ability to do more in a day than most of us do in a month. I did have a bet with myself that you wouldn't have heard of him, the Czech Republic's first billionaire. And that's the wonderful thing about wealth. It's lying around waiting to be claimed. Remember Rule 1. And those who claim it are the ones who get up early, work hard, and put in the hours. And you're going to have to as well. I don't have slackers or freeloaders on my team. I want hard-working, dedicated, focused, ambitious, driven moneymakers. With a sense of fun, of course. Rule number 6. Get a reality check. It's amazing how many people just ignore the obvious, especially poor people. No, I'm not being prejudiced. I'm saying that this is part of the reason they're poor. Some people moan a lot about not having enough. They make loads of excuses. They may work, but not hard enough or not in the right ways, and they hope that their problems will simply go away. I'm not talking about people starving in third-world countries here. I'm talking about people with friends and neighbors who have more than them. Well, guess what? They won't go away.
they're more likely to get worse. If you're struggling financially and wondering how to make more money, a lot or just a little, for those things that matter to you, you need to take positive action. Because I promise you that short of winning the lottery, nothing's going to change unless you do. And you can start by saving the cost of that lottery ticket every week. How much have you spent in your life on lottery tickets? Go on, work it out. And what have you won? That balance isn't going to change, you know. You're just throwing money down the drain. Take it from me, you won't win the jackpot. So sit down and think constructively about what you can do to increase your wealth, and then do it. Nothing else will dig you out of the financial morass. Be realistic about where you're going, what you're spending, what you're saving, and what you can do to set yourself on a new and more prosperous path. This applies to saving money as well. If you want $50,000 in 5 years' time, it's no good putting away a $20 a month. You'll be lucky to save $1,000 at that rate. If you want to save a specific amount of money, you need to work out exactly how much you need to save per week or month to do it. If it's not going to add up, don't bury your head in the sand. Work out how to save more or extend your deadline. If you know you have money vices, then face them. If you always spend $100 a month on beer, gadgets, shoes, whatever, then it's no good pretending that you don't when you make those financial plans. And if you know you struggle to save anything, there's no point pretending that you can suddenly put away $100 a month every month. I know it's tempting to avoid looking at problems and disappointments, but if you do that, you'll never get wealthy. If you're serious about making money, you have to start by finding the courage to confront the financial temptations in your life and do something about them.
Rule number 7. Understand your money beliefs and where they come from. We all grow up with money myths. We get a lot of them from our parents and the way they bring us up. I can still hear my mother saying, "A penny saved is a penny earned," and to this day I still have no idea what it means. Maybe I'm lucky. My money myths are based on a lot of nonsense like that. But most of us have the following ingrained beliefs. Money is the root of all evil. It is actually the love of money that is supposed to be the root of all evil, but is it a belief of yours? Money is dirty. I don't deserve to be rich. Money is only made by the greedy and dishonest. Money corrupts. You must not brag about money, never say how much you earn, are worth, or paid for something unless it is a bargain. You can't have money and be spiritually pure, whatever that means. You lose your friends if you get rich. You have to work too hard to get rich, see Rule 5. Happiness and money make poor bedfellows. The more you have, the more you'll want. It is somehow better to be poor. I wasn't meant to be rich. If I were, I would have been by now. I'm not the right type to be rich. Have a quick look through. Check which ones you believe. Check which ones strike a chord with you. Now you have to do a bit of that old-fashioned hard work. Write down ones that mean something to you. Add ones I've missed. There will be a few. Now work out why you hold these beliefs. Is it something you have actively thought about, reasoned out, dedicated some research to? Or are they inherited, left over, picked up along the way? Get rid of any that you can question and accept are nonsense. Discard any that simply aren't true, and chuck out any that stand in the way, hold you back, stop you making some money. What you should be left with is none at all, nothing, a blank sheet. Now you can.
Rule number 8. Understand that wealth is a consequence, not a reward. I use the word reward in the sense of a prize or bonus, not as a payment or remuneration. If you work hard at making money, you stand a better chance of becoming rich. You have to accept that money is a payment given to you for clever thinking and hard work. The harder and smarter you work, the more you will earn. You aren't given the money by a committee who examined whether you deserve it, whether you have been good enough. It is a direct consequence. We often look at someone who has money and makes all sorts of value judgments about whether they deserve it. We all do it.
I was reading about Calvin Ayre, the internet bookie, who has grown very rich indeed running online gambling. He has something like 16 million customers in the U.S. The U.S. Department of Justice isn't very happy about this and want to shut him down. Ayre isn't a U.S. citizen and doesn't reside there. You can read all about him on the www.forbes.com website, home of the really wealthy folk. If it isn't your homepage, it ought to be. You are in this to be wealthy, which means understanding where wealth comes from. Back to Ayre. He has grown rich exploiting an alleged U.S. law loophole whereby what he does is alleged to be illegal, but he isn't in the country to commit any crime. Do we judge him? I don't. I study this information to see if I could make use of it. What might be wrong is the gambling, but I am aware that his consequence of hard work has been lots of money. I was watching a TV program the other day about a dude who washes cars for rich celebs. He charges $2,000 for car washing. Mind you, this does include polishing. Now, is his money a reward or a consequence? I don't think he would see it as a reward. It's the price he sets, and customers pay him because he is the best car cleaner in the world. The consequence of his business idea, skill, and effort is to be very well paid.
Rule number 9. Decide what you want money for. This is part of your defining, setting an objective process. There are no right or wrong answers. For example, making a fortune and spending it all on cocaine seems, to me, like a foolish thing to do. But that's personal. You might find a problem with me spending mine on a decent Chateau Neuf de Pape. We all spend on what we think will satisfy us, make us happy. We all choose our own pleasures, and it's not for me to sit in judgment on anyone else. So why do you want to be wealthy? The answers you give will tell you a whole lot about your hidden money myths and how you really see money. Sometimes it's very simple. We have a dream and need the money to fulfill it. The dream comes first. What's your dream? It might not be that simple, however. I asked a close acquaintance why she wanted to be wealthier the other day, and the results were quite revealing. She said she wanted to be better off so that she could give her children more, and in giving them more, they would stay at home longer. And if they stayed at home longer, she wouldn't have to face a possible old age alone. So basically, she wants to be wealthy to stave off loneliness. Another acquaintance said he wanted to get wealthy so that he could have adventures. When pressed further, it seemed his adventures were the running away sort, where he could be young, free, and single again. Is money really the answer for either of these people? Is it for you? When you know what you want greater wealth for, think also about alternative ways to meet your needs. I said earlier I wanted to be wealthy so that I could pay for medical care for any close family member that might need it. I could invest in some simple medical insurance to cover that instead. Consider also what you don't need more money for. I like my toys, cars, and boats, but have found that my investments in such things hasn't increased as my income has gone up. I still like old, cheap sports cars and old boats that need plenty of maintenance. Do you really need as much as you think? If so, fine. You just need to be sure and be clear about it. So what's your excuse? What do you want money for? It might be to free you from having a job, or it might not even be for yourself, but to support causes you believe in. Set your own agenda, my friend, and keep it to yourself. And whatever you write down, and I do recommend you write it down, it makes it so much more real. It is a useful exercise to look back on one day to see if your dream and achievements match.
Rule 10. Understand that money begets money. There is no greater truth than this: money makes money. It likes clustering together. It breeds quietly and quickly like rabbits. It prefers to hang out in big groups. Money makes money. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. That's life. Yes, it is sad, but it does seem to be a fact. Now, we can work hard ourselves and do something about it, or we can sit around moaning and become part of the problem. The choice, as always, is entirely yours.
If you do want to do something about it, then it seems to make sense to me to make a tidy sum and use your money wisely to help the less fortunate than you, or do whatever with it you so choose. When you have some money, you'll be astonished at how quickly it can grow. I recommend you understand and learn the concept of compound interest as quickly as possible. And no, I am not going to tell you anything about it, except it's vitally important that you know about it and make it a cornerstone in your building of wealth. The reason I'm not going to tell you anything about it is, firstly, this isn't that sort of a book, and secondly, I'm not going to do all the work for you. That would be too easy, and you'd learn nothing. My observation is that wealthy people get the idea of compound interest, and the rest of us don't. Go and read The Financial Times Guide to Investing by Glenn Arnold. If you spend all you get, then this rule will never work for you. It'll never get your money working for you. You have to set aside money for breeding purposes. If you ran a rabbit farm and killed and ate all your rabbits, you wouldn't have any left to keep going. Forget the rabbit farm. You're going to start a money farm. Your money will breed. You can then reinvest some and spend some, but you can't spend it all or you'll have no more rabbits. Look, this stuff isn't rocket science, but it is amazing how many people simply don't get it. But you do now. You have been given the best tip I can give you. Put some money aside for breeding purposes, skim a little off for spending, reinvest the bulk to build up a good and healthy stock. Keep it to yourself.
Rule 11. Calculate the net return. Now, doesn't that sound boring? Calculate the net return. Well, it shouldn't be boring. Remember, this is about deciding if and when you're going to buy that house or take that vacation, when you can afford to give up work, how much you can leave to your kids or give to good causes, what kind of car you're going to drive. That's not boring. And the answer to when it's all going to happen will be affected by whether you calculate the net return. You understand what net means, of course, but do you remember to factor in the costs, expenses, charges, and tax before deciding whether to make an investment? Of course, calculations may not deter you, and that's fine, so long as you base your investment decision on the real net return and don't fall into the trap of just seeing the headline figure. Here's an example. Suppose you buy a property to rent it out. If it costs you, say, $100,000 and you lease it out at $10,000 a year, you might think that looks pretty good. But hang on. What have you got to factor in before you make your decision? Well, there's the cost of the mortgage, of course, and the insurance, the leasing agent's fees, maybe periods when the property is empty between tenants. Oh, and tax on the rental income. See? I'm not saying buy to lease is never worth it, but you've got to calculate the net return before you can decide if this is a good move for you. Obviously, there's also the potential capital growth in a property to consider, but that's not guaranteed, except perhaps over the very long term. Certainly, if you need to sell the property in 5 or even 10 years' time, you can't assume significant growth, and the value may even have dropped. So do your math. They're not complicated, but they do require you to think it through and make sure you haven't forgotten anything, especially the tax you may eventually have to pay on anything you make. Rule number 12. If you see money as the solution, you'll find it becomes the problem. Having money doesn't make all your relationships flow smoothly, not by a long shot. It doesn't protect you from disease. It may buy you better medical care after the event, but it doesn't protect you. It might buy a better diet, but the rich half of the world has a pretty poor health record despite having all the money to feed itself extremely well, so that doesn't necessarily go hand in hand. The more you see money as a solution, the greater the chance that you are missing the point entirely. Money doesn't do anything. I know, you'll be thinking, if only I had X amount, I could fix this problem in my life.
I think you'll find money would throw up a lot more problems in its wake. Money will not make you happier, thinner, or more popular with decent people. Money does not deliver lasting, meaningful peace of mind. There are plenty of rich, fat, unhappy people with no real friends. I think we need to find the cure to our problems first, and then find a way of funding that cure. Money isn't and never will be the cure. It is the oil that greases the wheels. It isn't the engine.
Rule 13. You can make lots of money, you can enjoy your job, and you can sleep nights. A lot of people hold one or other or all of these notions. Making money goes hand in hand with being a ruthless, manipulative, amoral, greedy lizard. To make a bit of cash, you have to sell your soul, grandmother, and principles. Being wealthy means you end up with a heart problem, insomnia, and other stress-related disorders. To make money, you have to turn into a slime ball who sacrifices their family, morals, and happiness, and all on the altar of wealth. Well, it can be like that, but it doesn't have to be. In fact, it shouldn't be. That's the beauty of it. If it is like that, then you're doing it wrong. You see, money is so freely available, and to anyone, as we looked at in Rule 1, that you really don't need to try that hard or change that much. An awful lot of pretty ordinary, nice people make money, and lots of it. You can make money, enjoy your job, and sleep at night. You just have to decide that is what you're going to do, no matter what, and then stick to it. Remember, if you are starting to lose sleep or have stopped enjoying what you do, then you need to have a serious talk with yourself. Go back to the beginning of the book and remember what it is that wealth is all about to you. I remember a cartoon of a boardroom with fat cat executives. A small girl pokes her head round the door and says, "Money can't buy a kind smile." The businessmen all look momentarily shamed. Then the chairman growls, "Get out of here, kid. Who the hell wants a kind smile?" And the others all look relieved and go back to their meeting. Well, I, for one, would like the kind smile, even if it does mean I lose a little money. I want to sleep nights and to enjoy my job and to make money. But I won't compromise my principles, spend too little time with my family or children, neglect to sit in the sunshine occasionally, take a day off. I won't worry about work or money once I've gone to bed, be driven so much by money that I lose my sense of humor or need to have fun. These I swear by. And it is possible, believe me, I've known and observed enough wealthy people to know this is true, to make money and have a life, to be ethical and rich, to earn a lot and be a thoroughly nice person. It is possible, it just sometimes seems it isn't. All part of debunking our money myths.
Rule number 14. Don't make money by being bad. I like Google's mission statement. Don't be evil. It's probably an anagram of something, but I still like it. If you have to lie, cheat, steal, defraud, lose sleep, hide, break the law in any way, bend the rules, or generally behave badly to make your money, then don't do it. It isn't worth it. If earning money or being wealthy stops being fun, and by being bad it really will stop being fun, then there's no point doing it. If you don't enjoy the challenge of earning money in a decent way, then best go and do something different. I knew a major criminal once. He told me it was no fun being crooked, as in fact, he had to be a lot more law-abiding than the rest of us. He couldn't risk getting pulled over by the police for speeding or any minor motoring offense. No late-night parties in case the police got called out. No flashy car to draw attention to himself. No lavish lifestyle in case it put him in the spotlight. But there is more to living a clean life than being able to speed or have parties. Living a life where you make your money from being good lets you sleep nights. You get to look your kids in the eye, and yourself in the mirror, with the added bonus of a feel-good factor. No amount of money can buy that. If you have to resort to being wicked, it means you failed. You've lost the plot.
It means you haven't been able to do it properly. It means you're scraping the barrel. It means you haven't been able to think of a proper idea. It means you've been lazy, desperate, non-creative, boring. I can come up with lots of examples of famous wealthy people who've made their money out of being bad. Yep, they're wealthy, it's true, but look in their eyes, and what do you see there? Do you want to have that stay awake at night worrying look? Do you want that flinch when the doorbell rings kind of life? You want nobody trusts you sort of relationships? Or would you rather relax and know that you did it legit, honest, fairly? It's a no-brainer, really, isn't it? As long as you can earn your wealth without ripping people off, being cruel or unjust, breaking the law or bending the rules, you'll be doing fine. All it requires is a quick check. Stay conscious of what you and your money are doing.
Rule number 15. Money and happiness. Understand their relationship. There are lots of things that will make us miserable. Losing a partner, being made redundant, getting sick, and loads more. There are quite a few related to money and gaining or spending. Remember, too little money can make you miserable. Too much money can make you miserable. Too much stuff can make you miserable. Not having enough can make you miserable. I think what we have to grasp pretty well from day one is that money and happiness are not necessarily the same thing. Money doesn't buy happiness. This is a common mistake people make. It isn't going to be one you make. You can be poor and happy. You can be rich and happy. You can also be either poor or rich and miserable. If you are looking to wealth to make you happy, you'll be disappointed. If you are looking to money to make you powerful, younger, sexier, more vital, more interesting, better looking, whatever, you're going to be disappointed. Sorry, but money doesn't do any of that. In your head it might, in other people's heads it might, but it doesn't in reality. You can be all those things with money, it is true. It isn't money that does it. The switch is thrown in your head first. Money is a placebo, not a cure. We've all seen the lottery winners who buy the big house and feel miserable because they've left all their friends behind. But we won't make any of these mistakes because we will practice this rule diligently and understand the relationship between money and happiness. Ah, but I hear you ask, what exactly is this rule? What do I have to do? Answer, nothing except not expect too much from money and don't buy stuff in the hope it will make you happy. It won't. When they build that brand new BMW or whatever it is you covet, they don't build in any happiness. So when you first sit in it or buy it and you feel fantastic, and I'm not denying people do feel great buying stuff, that feeling isn't in the thing you buy. That feeling was inside you anyway. All this said, what money can do is buy away a lot of unhappiness. It just can't go any further than that.
Rule number 16. Know the difference between price and value. I once asked my delightful father-in-law to explain that thing about wine to me. You know, can a bottle that costs $100 in a top restaurant really be 20 times as good as a bottle that you can get for $15 at the local shop? His answer was interesting. He said that you aren't paying for the wine alone. What you are paying for is the ambience, the service, the location, the wine waiter's expertise, the good company, the fine tablecloths, the privacy and discretion, the style and class, the tradition, the food and the trust, the humidity and storage, the tone and the surroundings, the fellow dining guests and the great conversation. The wine is almost irrelevant, and that's the point. We think we know the price of something, but the value can spread out far beyond all of that. I have an old Mercedes. I like Mercs, but am far too mean to buy a new one and lose all that depreciation. I didn't pay much for it. You never do, as people are scared of them in case they go wrong. And fair enough, they do cost a fortune to put right. But you need to remember that because they are better made, they rarely do go wrong.
I was visited by a friend who was driving a brand new car he'd just bought, a modern car, a small hatchback thing that looked like a mini spaceship. He looked at my old, battered, mud-streaked Merc and exclaimed, "You must be doing well." I tried to explain that wasn't the case and that he'd probably paid at least 5 times for his what I'd paid for mine, but he wouldn't have it. He saw the Merc and had decided its value was a lot more than the price, that is, what was actually paid for it. I learned that day about price not necessarily equating to perceived value. Remember, too, that something is only worth what others are willing to pay for it. A catalog may say the value of a painting is $1,000, but that's only true if somebody is willing to pay that amount for it. An important lesson to learn. The price of something can be far less than its actual value, either to you or to somebody else, or a lot more. If you are going to be wealthy, and I sincerely hope you are if you put into play the rules in this book and work diligently at it, then it's worth studying the difference between price and value.
Rule number 17. Know how the wealthy think. There is a simple test to determine whether someone will end up wealthy, or if they already are. All you have to do is watch someone read their favorite newspaper, especially if it's one of the big Sundays. Notice which paper they choose. Notice which sections they choose to read. Notice which sections they discard. Notice in which order they read their chosen sections. This is a test for you, too. Have a look at the above and make a mental note of what you do. The wealthy, those who have deliberately chosen to be wealthy rather than those who have won the lottery or inherited, God's lottery as I think of it, or married into it, invariably choose the more serious of the papers, choose the more serious sections, discard the frivolous sections, read the money/business sections first. If you are serious about being wealthy, you will have to learn how the wealthy think. This means studying the opposition, although very shortly you will be a part of them. You need to know the lingo and the language, where they eat and live, how they work and relax, how they invest and save. In short, you need to study money if you are to increase your prosperity. Try to get to talk to wealthy people, ask questions, develop a thirst for understanding and knowledge. Read about wealthy people. Interviews and autobiographies can be full of insight. You may also benefit from a few well-chosen business and finance books. I'm not going to recommend any to you as I don't know your reading style. Find ones that suit you. Also, why not log on to the FT site or the finance pages of other online papers to keep up with the latest developments in the money market? Get informed. But what if this all feels a bit too heavy? If, like me, you like the gossip columns as well as financial pages, then you, like me, will probably never be extremely mind-bogglingly over-the-top wealthy. We can still be wealthy, and we might have more fun, too. Prosperous and fun. Sounds good to me. I think we have to be really passionate about money if we want lots. We have to live and breathe and sleep, yes, bearing in mind Rule 13, money. We have to study hard at the University of Wealth if we want to graduate. Rule number 18. Don't envy what others have. We all set our own objectives. We all have individual ambitions. We all work out how much work we are prepared to put into this business of becoming wealthy. We all set our own limits and know what we are prepared to do or not do. So what is the point of envying what anyone else has? Not unless you know what their agenda was and is. Not unless you know how much work they were prepared to put in. Not unless you know what they were prepared to sacrifice. Of course, you can cast an envious glance at the easy three: lottery, inherited, married, or divorced into. We all do. But money earned is entirely the business of the person earning it. They did the work. They had the idea or entrepreneurial spirit. They got up earlier than us. They were driven or fired up by what they wanted to achieve. Envying them is pointless. Learning from them is invaluable. And learning from them is the greatest gift they can give us. Ideally, you need a money mentor,
someone you look up to who has made a lot of money and in the right way, legally, enjoyably, and nicely, who will give you the odd tip, tuck you under their wing, set you on the right path, and refuse to lend you any money, of course, not that you'd ask. If I come across someone extremely rich, I immediately try to work out how they did it and if that route would suit me. What bits of information could I glean to help me get to that position, bearing in mind I only want to do it right, legally, and enjoyably. I think 90% of getting these rules right is to approach getting wealthy as sympathetic magic. Do as they do, and you'll end up as them. I have my money mentor, and I hang on to his every word when it comes to money, as he's living on the interest on his money, and that's the place I'm heading for. Use other people as a source of inspiration. Besides, envy is not a characteristic of a rules player. That's you now, by the way.
Rule number 19. It's harder to manage yourself than it is to manage your money. So, how well do you know yourself? Pretty well? Not at all? Vaguely? We think we know ourselves until we come to give up smoking, lose weight, get fit, get rich, and then we realize we are lazier, have less willpower, less determination, make less effort, get too easily dissuaded, fall by the wayside too readily. If I wanted to tuck you under my wing and make you wealthy, the first thing I would need to know is, do you have what it takes to be wealthy? Are you determined enough? Will you work hard enough? Will you stick at it? Do you have backbone, stamina, guts, relentless focus? You see, if you don't, the chances are you won't succeed. I'm not trying to put you off. I am trying to make you see that making money is a skill that can be taught, as long as the person is ready and willing to learn and apply themselves diligently. If you decided you wanted to win Wimbledon, you would have needed to start playing tennis when you were about 5 and have been winning junior championships by the time you were 14. It's the same with money. You can't expect an overweight, middle-aged person to suddenly be in the final. When I was a young, struggling student, I once sold a valuable book so I could eat. I made a direct choice between owning something that was going to increase in value and thus potentially make me wealthy and having a meal for one. You see what I mean? I, in essence, chose at that time anyway to be poor rather than wealthy. I saw the same book recently in a bookshop, and believe me, I made a bad call that day. And what I have noticed is that the wealthy, when they're starting out anyway, have enormous drive and are prepared to make enormous sacrifices. They manage themselves and forego instant rewards for bigger payback in the longer term. Self-control and delayed gratification are useful arts to learn.
The Rich Diary Podcast is only for education, motivation, empowerment, and striving for mastery. Please like, subscribe, and share now. And this is the Rich Diary Podcast. If you love this content, please subscribe and share now. Mondays to Fridays, 12 p.m. each day.